Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast, where we focus on how authors found success, looking at strategies that have taken them to the top of the bestseller charts, as well as what they've learned from their mistakes. Because being an indie author is more than knowing the latest marketing trend. It's about being innovative and creative and learning from your mistakes.
Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sara Rosette.
And I'm Jami Albright. And this week on the show we have
Holly Lyne.
Yes, we do. We do. It was a great interview. Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about, she's got a book about goal setting for writers. And so we really dig into tips on that, especially for people who don't like to set goals or don't know how to set goals.
I feel like I asked her, like, explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old, because I don't really get it sometimes.
Well, she was number one futuristic, if you're familiar with this Clifton Strengths. And so I'm not. I'm definitely, I view things through.
I'm like number 11
through the past. You know, I've noticed that I look back instead of forward more. So, so I need help looking forward. So we talked about that.
It was great. It was a great interview. Yeah. She's really smart.
Yeah. So that's coming up. So what have you been doing this week? You've had a big week.
I have. I had my launch and it's gone great. First, let me just say I chickened out on the one email a day thing last week. I just got to think about it, thought, oh my gosh, what if they don't open that Friday email? So on Monday, I sent out an email with the first 5 chapters of the book linked to my website. And I actually have that on my website for people to, they can read it. It's just up for anybody to read with the link to buy the book at the end of it. So we'll see how that goes. And I have gotten quite a bit of traffic to that. I can see that on my website and stuff. So don't know how many people clicked, but I can see that I got traffic to it. So that's great. Yeah. The launch has gone well. I think I got to 865 or something, 865, which was my goal. My goal was to top 1,000. I'm going for bank over rank this time. So I was not really I knew with what I was spending, I would not, short of a miracle, get into the top 100, which I did with the last book. But I was just trying to I thought, well, if I can hit top 1,000, I feel like that's a realistic goal. And I did, and I stayed there for several days. But I think today I'm at 1,200, and this is Monday after the Friday. So I stayed for a couple of days in top 1,000. It's been great. Like I'm doubling my money. I'm making right now, but the page reads are going up every day. So I'm hoping that will continue. Also, book 1, the rank on it has improved significantally, and I'm just running a small ad to it. So that's coming from people reading the first book and then going and finding reading the second book and going back and finding the first book. So that's exciting. And so it's all gone really well. I'm very happy with it. It's been hard in that I keep checking rank and I have to keep saying, wait, I'm not concerned with rank. And then I go over and check profit and I'm like, oh, okay. This is what I'm supposed to, this is what I'm looking for. So actually, last 7 days, it's been more than, it's been like 2.5% or something. 2.5, which is good. I would like it to be more, but this is good for me and what's been going on. So I'm super happy. But it is a change in mindset for me. I want to hit that high rank. I want that visibility. But honestly, if I could stay around 1,200 in the store for a long time, I would be super happy with that instead of having big fluctuations. So we'll see what happens. We'll see.
I think that's true that different launches have different, you have different goals with different launches. And, a book 2 in a series is different than a book 1. And,
right. Correct.
And if you're focused more on your earnings, than rank. It's totally different mindset.
Yeah, it's a different mindset for sure, because, with rank, when you really focus on rank, you're hoping for those. If you're in KU, you're hoping for those page reads to kick in, and you're that's like a second roll of the dice. I mean, you're hoping that will happen, and sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So
yeah,
this time I really wasn't trying to do that. I mean, I purposely did not shoot for that. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. Some people may be listening going, oh my gosh, I get so much better return on my investment. But for me, this is really good. So I'm happy. I'm happy with it. And one more thing, this week's episode of Behind the Books with Tess and Karen, it's a podcast. I'm the guest, so that's exciting. Nice. It was great. It was a great interview. It was really fun. So if anybody's interested in that, they can go and listen to that. We'll have the link in the show notes. So yeah, it's Behind the Books with Tess and Karen.
Okay, cool. That's a new one. I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah. So what about you?
Well, this week we've done more home improvement stuff for my office. We've now actually have the drywall all finished.
Oh,
and somebody mentioned in the group that they would like more updates on the office. And I actually got in here and cleaned a bunch of boxes out. So I'm feeling better about it, because
maybe you should take a video and put it in the group.
Yeah, I could, but
hey, let me give you an assignment.
More. So what I did was I essentially moved some of the stuff just to the other side of the room. So one side looks great, but so still working on that. But yeah, the doors are in, and so now I can close the doors when I do a podcast, which is exciting.
Yeah, that's
so we did that, and that's like lots of people coming and going, and upheaval and noise, but it's done, so that's good. And then I've been working on Historical Mystery Day is coming up September 29th. I talked about this back in January.
Yeah, I remember.
It's just like a celebration of historical mysteries. Mm-hmm. And of course, I ended up doing way more than I thought I would to get ready for it.
Right.
And then I had all these big plans, and I've kind of run out of steam as it's gotten closer. I think the whole thing with Becca and the pandemic that we talked about, how you just can't keep doing like at the same pace. And I kind of feel like that's kind of like a little wind-up toy. It's kind of winding down right now.
Right.
So I've decided that what I've done is plenty, and I'm just going to mention it on social media, and I have some authors who are going to help me get the word out. So if anyone's interested in that, if you're a historical mystery writer and you want to find out about that, that's at historicalmysteryday.com. And I've also been working on translations, which is basically just project management, just like getting the covers and the descriptions and everything. I'm almost to the point where I can release the first one. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting.
Yeah. So I'm glad. So I'm a little nervous on that, but I mean, I feel like with that, I'm going to do one. I have German and French going.
Right.
And, I think the French ones are going to be ready first. And I'm going to do those wide because there's no bonuses in the French store, in the Amazon store. So it'll be just like one of my other launches, except, I have no French mailing list. So I'll just put it out and see what happens.
Right. Exactly.
And run ads to it. Yeah.
Exactly. Very good. That's exciting. One more thing I forgot that I will be working on for the next couple of weeks is my talk for the 20 Books to 50K conference.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure about a title, but I'm pretty sure about what I'm going to talk about. And kind of yesterday worked on a little outline for it. So that makes me feel better, because I'm not generally good at like when they say, hey, we need your stuff, your slides and everything by this date. I kind of panic, but I thought, well, I really do kind of have some things to talk about. So so I'm coming up with a title for it just now. So
awesome.
So
cool.
That's exciting.
That's good. All right. So should we do a question of the week this week?
Yes. You come up with it.
Okay,
I have no brain cells left.
Okay. What about how far ahead do you plan? How about that? Because we're talking about goal setting with Holly.
Yeah.
Is that good? Would you like that? Or you want something else?
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. Like, do you do quarterly? Do you do half year? Do you do weekly? Do you do
daily?
Daily? Do you do, yeah, hourly for me. Yeah. I'm very meta. But anyway, let's do that.
Okay, sounds good. Well, you can let us know in the group. We're at the Wish I Knew Then group on Facebook, and you can come over to the website and leave comments there.
Yes,
it's pretty quiet over there, but it is there. So, all right. Well, let's get on with the interview with Holly.
All right.
Today, we're excited to have Holly Lyne with us. Hi, Holly. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Hello, I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you.
Let me read your bio, and we'll jump right into the questions. Holly Lyne lives in Yorkshire with her husbeast, 2 children, and midwife cat. When not juggling family commitments, she writes dark urban fantasy novels, purging her imagination of its demons. Inspired by the king of horror himself, Holly aspires to be at least half as prolific and successful and promises to limit herself to 1 tome of the Stand-like proportions in her career. Mm-hmm. Holly is a bullet journal enthusiast, podcaster, and has a knack for getting stuff done.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, so you must have listened to or read On Writing by Stephen King.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, I read it about every 18 months.
I know. I do too. It's so good. And it's not just like it's hilarious good. And but it has great information. And actually, like when I got done, I was like, hey, there's some really good marriage advice in here too. So so it's just a great book. Yeah, I'm with you. So tell us how you got into writing.
Oh, I'm the total cliche. I've been writing since I could hold a pencil. I used to write sort of poems and short stories when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And actually recently we had to clear out our entire house, and I found this poem that I'd written probably when I was about 7 or 8, and it was mounted on backing paper. It obviously been put on the classroom wall, and it was about fire. And I read it and I was like, wow, that's really quite profound. So I've been writing all my life. And
that should go out in your newsletter for sure.
Yeah.
That's newsletter content. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It had a little picture of fire as well. I'd drawn a little picture underneath it. Yeah.
Very nice. Cool.
Yeah. So I drifted away. I did other things. I actually studied drama and film and TV at university. And then I switched to religious studies and philosophy. And that was what I got my degree in eventually. And then I came back to writing just after I'd had my first child. It was very much needing to find something of myself again in amongst the motherhood thing.
Yep.
And that's when I began to actually take it seriously and turn it into a career. So
that is amazing. That's so great. And then did you always self-publish, or did you try to do the traditional route?
No, that never appealed to me. And I think it's a big part of why I didn't have serious aspirations to be a writer when I was younger, because I knew a bit about publishing and just thought that's not for me. Mm-hmm. And then sort of 2012 was when I was writing my first novel, and self-publishing was really starting to be a thing that people talked about. And I found out about it and straight away knew that was the path I wanted to take.
Wow. That's so insightful and forward thinking. I don't know that I would have just thought, oh, this is what I'm going to do, jump into that. So that's great.
Well, what is your definition of success?
Oh, this is actually something I'm kind of wrestling with, a shift in my mindset right now. Mm-hmm. So I used to have quite, not fixed, but I was quite certain what success meant to me. And I had sort of a bucket list of things I wanted, a certain income level and the bestseller label and, things like having a house big enough to have a library with a rolling ladder, Mm-hmm. And so, but now, I don't know, I've really shifted, and I went through a horrible burnout kind of over Christmas and winter, last winter, and I'm still coming out of it. And I'm learning to love writing again right now. So like, and my idea of success right now is just finishing this next book, because it's been a while since I wrote a full-length novel. So it's like, if I can do that, then I'll be happy.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah. It is hard.
I think I think most people, our definition changes over time. And I think as you reach certain goals, then your definition changes. But a lot of times, like for me, I've realized, like, I totally understand about the library with the rolling bookshelf. That's like a dream.
Yeah, she has a ladder on her bookshelf, but does it roll?
Rolling. No, it's not rolling. I haven't quite achieved that yet, but I do understand that how things change, and yeah, I think there's a lot of people going through burnout, especially now in publishing, especially indie publishing. So, yeah.
I think it was inevitable. Yeah. It was just inevitable. We were all kind of barreling forward really fast. And yeah, not everybody, but some people are. Yeah. Well, so what do you wish you'd known about writing and craft when you started?
I think I wish I'd appreciated the importance of getting feedback. And I published my very first book without sending it to an editor. I know. But I didn't know any better at the time, and I learned very quickly. So yeah, I've been working with the same editor now since 2013, and I'm so glad, because she's just improved my writing so much. And I didn't realize that I could learn so much just from having another pair of eyes on my work and giving me suggestions, and that's been invaluable, really.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I've had a couple of different editors, partly because I was writing contemporary and then I switched to writing historical. And so I needed somebody that specialized in historical fiction. So when I switched, but it's interesting, I've learned different things from the different editors, because I think it's like we all have certain things that we watch for and are attuned to. And so that's helped me, just kind of working with some different people. But then once I'm working with somebody, I don't want to change because it's hard to find a good editor.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, everyone knows how I feel about my editor. Like, if she was in the States, I'd probably move in with her, but just because she's so great and she's so easy to work with, but she also does make me so much better. Like, I think I'm feeling that way, particularly now, because I just got my edits back, and then we've gone kind of back and forth on a couple of things that I thought needed to be added. And she's just been so great with helping me with that. And it's hard to find. And it's great when you're with the same person over a series of books or a period of time, because they get you, like they get you, they know what you're trying to put out. And, so that, I get it. So Serena, no reason to worry. I'm not going to move to New Zealand and move in with you, but if you were here, no.
Well, what about marketing? Is there anything you wish you'd known about marketing?
I don't think so. I think I've learned everything I needed to know when I needed to know it. So I learned quite early how important a mailing list was. And ads have never really worked for me. I've never been able to get that going, and I've done all the courses, and I don't know. So that hasn't clicked for me. So maybe if there's anything, I wish I'd got that worked out sooner, because I'm still floundering on that one.
Do you think it's genre specific, or do you think that it's just there's not a big enough audience for that? Because you do write. I mean, you do write urban fantasy. It's a big audience, but I mean, are there a lot of comps like for Facebook ads and stuff?
Yeah, it's a really broad church. So, I don't write, and I say this in the front of every book, I have like are we a perfect match thing? And I say, I don't write sparkly characters and perfect heroines with perfect hair. Like that's not my thing. So my stuff's much darker and edgier and very action orientated, and really not any romance, or romance is only a subplot. So finding comp titles is a challenge because there isn't that much. You've got the great big hitters like the Dresden Files, and beyond that it's a bit of a minefield. And I don't necessarily have time to read every book to find the ones that are genuinely comp titles. So I'm going on covers and blurbs, and it's difficult to tell. So yeah, that's been a challenge, definitely. Yeah.
I think that's interesting because I think you make a really good point that you can't just, like in your genre, you can't just blast out to all urban fantasy readers. You've got to find those dark urban fantasy readers. And we've talked about that a lot on the podcast, finding those specific readers that are yours. So I think that's really great.
It's like with romance. You couldn't, there'd be no point advertising a billionaire romance to someone who likes second chance romance, or, it's,
or small town.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I struggle with that too sometimes because my stuff falls a little bit in the middle. It's kind of fun and sweet, but it's also sexy, but it's not, dark romance sexy. So there's just such a wide array of places you can fall in there.
Definitely.
What assumptions did you make at the beginning of your writing career, and looking back, did they turn out to be right or wrong?
It's trying to remember. I've got to go back.
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
I think, my first book, really my first two books, I wrote very, very easily, and I think I assumed it would always be that easy.
Yes. Yes.
They just flowed out of me very, very quickly. I wrote them back to back, and in fact, they were going to be one book, and I decided to split them into two. So it was, it was a very smooth process writing those two books. It was just continuous writing. And like even the rest of that series came quite easily. And I wrote all 4 books in 3 years. Yeah. And I thought that I would only gain pace. I thought I would get quicker and quicker. And it's not been the case at all. I've slowed right down. So yeah, but then, the world has been upside down for 18 months. Yeah. So that's probably a significant factor in that. So
yeah. I think there's something about beginnings, like the beginning of your career, the beginning of a series. You get a lot of energy from that, and it just feels really good. And then I worked on my first book for a long time, but my second one was really hard. And I remember thinking, is it supposed to be this hard? I mean, is this normal? And back then I didn't really have that many writer friends to talk to, but I just kept plugging away till I got through it. But yeah, I think I think there's a lot of excitement with the beginning, and maybe it's harder to sustain that after you get going a couple books.
Yeah. And also, I started to take it seriously as a business. And so, I was more mindful of how am I going to sell this? And it's hard to not let that interfere with the creative process,
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Expectations. That makes a huge difference. I was listening to somebody today on Clubhouse, and he was saying that, when he stopped work full time to write full time, he hadn't anticipated the pressure that would put on him. And I remember having the same experience, and it's a real thing. Yeah. When it's your job, there's a lot of pressure that goes along with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we like to talk about lessons learned, and we want to know, like what people have learned over their writing career. So have you ever had something that you thought was a mistake, but then it turned out to actually have a good outcome or something good came out of it?
Okay. Yeah, I was part of a set of anthologies, and I had to write 3 connected short stories for these 3 anthologies. And I started writing something and realized probably about 8,000 words in that it was not a short story. I was like, oh, yeah, that needs to be a novel. So I had to abandon it and very quickly, because my deadline was approaching, come up with something else. And yeah, I think I'm only just really quite recently starting to kind of come back to that project that I started, because I just left it. Like, it was like, nope, not now, and went on to other things. But I've started getting ideas for it, and I can definitely see that it was, it's not that I've ever viewed it as a mistake, but maybe as a slight waste of time. But now I'm like, no, because I can pick it back up and turn it into something. And I'm starting to figure out what it needs to be, and I'm quite excited about it. So,
oh, that's great. See, that's good. I feel like our time is not wasted. I had to ditch 50,000 words of a book before, but which was really hard, but it really taught me a lot about planning. And that was right after I came home from, and started working full time as an author. And I put so much pressure on myself that I think that it was just hard. But yeah, even the biggest things, you're like, that's not wasted, if you're willing to learn from it. So I think that's great. Well, how about the opposite? Like, you thought, this is a great idea, and then it turned out to not be so great.
I'm trying to decide what I can say. I don't want to offend anybody. Well, yeah. So I've fallen completely in love with audio, and so I've the Unstoppable Authors podcast. I was also the co-host on the Great Writer Share podcast before that wrapped up, and I started narrating my own books, not to sell as audiobooks, but for my patrons, and absolutely love doing it. And then I came up with the idea for an audio drama style podcast.
Oh yeah.
And I got very excited, and I announced it to everybody.
Oh.
And it turns out I don't have time. I don't have time, and I don't have the energy. And I'm now using my voice so much because I sing as well. And it's like my voice is just permanently tired. So as much as I love the idea, it was a mistake to announce it to everyone, and I got a bit carried away there.
Yeah. I have learned over the 4 years that I've been doing this that to keep it as vague as possible. Like, do not commit to anything unless you're ready to, push go or launch it or whatever, because life happens or things happen, or you just think, I don't want to do that anymore. So
I got about, I think it was like 15 or 17 episodes into a solo podcast, because before Jami and I did this one, I had a solo podcast just for readers. And I just, my interest just died. I think it was the time commitment it was taking. I couldn't keep it up. And so I just stopped, and that was it. But then later I relaunched it in a different format. But every once in a while, it's just like, you just can't do all the things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So speaking of all the things.
Exactly. I was good.
This would be a good time to talk about your book, Goal Setting for Authors. So I thought it was interesting that in your book, you start out and you talk about that there are certain times that you probably shouldn't set goals. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I think that's an interesting way to begin, because a lot of people just, goal setting is everything, and you have a little bit different perspective. So tell us about that.
Yeah, definitely. For context, I wrote the book in April 2020, and it was, I'd had the idea sort of bubbling for a little while, and I was like, I want to write this. And I spoke to friends and was like, now's a really bad time to write this book, right? Because who knows what the next month, 6 months, year have in store for us. But some very wise, very good friends said, no, this is the perfect time to write this book. So I did, but I wanted to right up front say, I'm glad you've got this book and I hope it helps, but now may not be the time. And so I talked about, I believe we have certain modes in our life, and two of those modes are crisis mode and survival mode. Crisis mode is the start of a pandemic or a bereavement or diagnosis of a chronic illness, or, when some big upheaval has just happened and you have to put everything on pause because you have to deal with that crisis. Or when just there is too much uncertainty, you can't make a plan because you're about to be evicted, or if there's something just that's a crisis. But then there is survival mode that usually comes after a crisis. It's the recovery period. It's when everything has kind of settled into equilibrium, but things are still stressful and difficult and challenging. If you have to, care for a relative who's ill or has a disability, or if you have had to get a second job and you're trying to juggle 2 jobs and parenting, or just there's some ongoing difficult situation that is taking a lot of your time and a lot of your energy, then again, you probably don't want to set goals. Or if you do, they will be quite small, quite easy to achieve, nice gentle goals. It might be something like going for a walk every day, and that's it. That's enough. That is all you can promise yourself. Or if it's writing related, just opening the manuscript, just do that every day with no pressure. So I think it's really important to take stock of your life situation and just ask yourself, is it okay for me to not set a goal right now? And if you're having to ask the question, the answer is probably yes.
Yeah. This past year, I mean, you were talking about in April, and I think in April I was making videos saying, okay, guys, just, a month or two, we got to hold on for a month or two. I was being so positive, and, I was so stupid as well, because, here we are 18 months later and still in it to some degree. So, I think that waiting until you're out of crisis. Now, they're always going to, but my question is, there are always going to be things going on. So when do you know this is a good time to start setting goals?
I think if you have generally a good handle on your day-to-day life, then that's fine. And I mean, I would say for many of us now, we've moved through survival mode where it's it's getting back to, and certainly here in the UK, I know things are a bit different in the States for you guys at the moment, but it's time to just get on with things, and no one can tell you when that time is. That's got to come from inside yourself and from your specific situation. But I think if you generally have a handle on any pressures that are on you, because there's always going to be things, but if you're managing things and you don't feel overwhelmed, then it's a good time.
Good. Yeah, I think we're in the new normal stage right now. So it may be a good
I hate that phrase, but yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I know. I'm calling this normal-ish life.
Yeah.
Yeah, normal-ish.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, what are some first good steps for authors when it comes to goal setting?
I always like to start with thinking about your big why. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you writing? What is it that motivates you? For most people, it's not a paycheck, but it may be. So yeah, and I mean, I'm a big dreamer, and like, I don't know if you guys know anything about Clifton strengths, but my number one strength is futuristic.
Oh, really?
So I like, yeah. Followed by strategic. And whenever I tell people that who know about Clifton strengths, they're like, oh, it makes so much sense that you wrote a book on this.
Yeah. It's true.
So yeah, I look ahead. I dream about the future, and that really motivates me. But that is not true for everyone. So whatever your thing is, if it's, needing to write for catharsis, to process something, to process a trauma, then that might be your big why. It really might be that you want to make 1 million bucks and buy a yacht, and if so, brilliant. And can I come? So yeah.
So has this last 18 months been super hard for you, being futuristic and strategic? Because it's hard for a while, it was really hard to look ahead and know what was going to happen or make plans.
Yes. Yeah, it's been awful.
Yeah.
Those of us who are high futuristic, we're all kind of like connecting with each other and going, it's like a big black hole. It's like, I can't see the future anymore. I'm too scared to look at the future. And,
right.
Yeah, it's been hard, but I've been getting some coaching on this.
Good.
And
good.
Yeah. And I'm starting to come through that now. And I'm actually, part of my redefining success thing is because my coach has banned me from planning more than 3 months ahead. As part of my like healing, which I thought would be really hard because normally I'm planning like 5 years ahead. So, but it's actually been a massive relief to just sort of have permission and just keep my eyes a little closer. So yeah, that's why I'm just this book, just this book.
That's great, though.
But yeah, I am now Sorry.
I said that's great that you're doing that.
Yeah, but I'm just starting to be able to like cast ahead, like 10 years ahead, like over this.
Oh wow!
Past this. Like I just had my birthday last weekend, and I was turned 39, and I can't think about my 40th birthday. That's still too uncertain. But my 50th, there's going to be a party.
Well, I'm curious. So when you say you're looking far ahead, are you looking far ahead for yourself and your goals? Or can you also envision like changes in the publishing industry, or is it more personal to your industry, to your writing?
It's mostly personal, but I do take an interest in sort of technologies and what's going on. I always like to listen to Joanna Penn talk about this because she's such a futurist, and she has her eyes really well set on what's coming. And I think it's just common sense, whatever industry you work in, it's a good idea to keep an eye on what's changing. And so I do think about it, but when I think about my future, I tend to just be more focused on my work, just with that kind of in the background. If like virtual reality is becoming more of a thing, and is storytelling going to change so that we're creating VR worlds for people to role play in? So there's a part of me that has that just in the back of my head, that might be where writing goes, and that's quite exciting to me. So
that's very interesting.
So for an author, let's say somebody that isn't big on goal planning, I'm raising my hand. I have goals, but it's not like I I don't plan real far out because I'm not a futurist. It's really hard for me to see. So what would you say some of the first steps should be for like an author like me? I'm taking notes.
I think have a think for yourself how far ahead you can see. How far ahead gets you excited. And if it's only 3 months, 6 months, even if it's only a week, then focus on that and adjust your planning strategy to match that time scale. So in the book, I talk about, setting 5-year goals and 1-year goals, and then breaking that down into quarterly steps and all of this. And it was so written from the point of view of myself and my own strengths. And the more I learned, the more I'm like, oh, there might be a second book because there's so much more I could say about this. Right. But I really like 6-week cycles for planning. So if that's the kind of time scale that you feel comfortable with, just think about the next 6 weeks and what can I do in each of those weeks to move me towards my 6-week target.
And that's so good because I'm number one activator. So I want to start it, get it done. And so even looking 6 weeks ahead, as far as writing, getting a first draft done or something, that seems like a long time for me. And I want to have this done. So that's so interesting, but such a good advice. Yeah. What can I do in 6 weeks? Okay. That's great.
Well, I also wanted to ask
this week.
Yes. Really, what can I do this week to move me on to the next week? Yeah. Right. Very good. Yeah. Very good.
Well, do you have any tools or software, anything that you use or recommend, like if people want to plan goals and do goal planning?
Sure. Well, I'm a bullet journalist, so I do everything on paper. And I'm always going to recommend bullet journaling because it's completely customizable. It's whatever you need it to be. And for those who don't know, you take a blank notebook and you basically just write a task list for each day, and you have bullet points and then different notations to show whether you've completed a task or whether it needs to be done the next day or rescheduled for another time. So if anyone's interested, I recommend the Bullet Journal Method by Ryder Carroll and his website, bulletjournal.com, which has all the information. So that's my thing. That's what I use. And I do all my planning. I have, spreads for my quarterly goals and my monthly goals and everything. And I get really nerdy about
that. That's great though. And you have it all right there together. And in a way that is easy for you to understand it. And I think that's important when you're going to do any of these things. It needs to fit your personality, fit the way you think, the way you see things. Yeah. I think that's great. Yeah. Bullet, that might be a good thing for me because I do like things written down and I like to be able to mark things off. I'll write down something I've already done before I wrote my list just so I can mark it off. Because
you're not futuristic enough to know you're going
to get up and I get dressed. So I just wrote on there, got dressed, mark that off. Yeah. I'm very remedial.
There is something really rewarding about there's something really rewarding about having a done list.
Yes.
Which I think is good. And I think it was Rachel Herron. I want to say it's Rachel Herron has a ta-da list. Ta-da!
Oh, that's so
done.
Great.
And I love that.
Yes, I like that too.
That might actually fit my personality better. Yeah. So tell us about your podcast. It's the Unstoppable Authors Podcast. So tell our listeners what it's about, what you guys talk about. And
sure.
All of that.
It's a podcast for authors. Primarily, focused on indie publishing, although we have had some traditionally published authors on as guests. I co-host with Angeline Trevina and now Julia Scott as well, who's just joined us this month. And we kind of alternate between having group chats between the hosts and having guests on. And we like to dig into sort of the practical side of things, the what to do, what not to do kind of stuff. And we talk about self-care a lot.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Well, is there anything that you, any advice you would give for authors who would like to podcast? Because it's kind of a growing trend, I think, podcasting.
Yeah. I think make sure you know why you want to do it and what you want to get out of it. Because if you are a fiction author and you want to reach readers, what you will podcast will be very different from if you want to talk to other writers. And if you want to talk to other writers, then just grab a microphone and just start. And I mean, you can even just do it on your phone. You don't need fancy equipment. And, be consistent. You might want to think about, branding and colors and things like that, because that might be fun for you, but it's not essential. Just it's you and your voice. And I think obviously there are a lot of us doing this sort of thing now, but we're all unique and we all have our own unique spin on things. So, there's plenty of room for all of us to have our say.
Yes, I agree. There are quite a few writing podcasts out there now, but each podcast, the hosts are going to be different and they're going to have a different take on things. And then it depends on, like, if you're, Jami and I talk mostly about, I write mysteries, she writes romance, and a lot of our examples, the illustrations are from those genres. And there's not, a whole lot of writers podcasting from those point of view. So just, there's always room. I agree. There's always room for more.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're getting towards the end of our time, and we always wrap up with this question. What do you think is one of the best things you've done to set yourself up for success?
Surrounding myself with other writers, finding my tribe. I think having community is just so important. Having people to lean on when you need support, someone who can advise you when you are stuck, and someone to just sort of brainstorm with. You just need to find an idea. Yesterday, I spent the afternoon with a friend of mine, and we just, most of the time, we were just sort of sat almost, in silence, side by side, each working on our own thing. But just the chance to just turn to each other and go, okay, so I have this character and I need them to get from X to Y, and just being able to bounce the ideas. But obviously you don't have to do that in person. You can do that over Zoom or just a messenger chat thing. Just having people who get it, I think, is so important.
I agree. And having people that, will hug you when you need a hug, but also kick you in the butt when you need a kick in the butt. And I think that and do it with love, and do it, but do it nonetheless. And I think that's super important. But finding your tribe, that's for Sara and I, that's just been so pivotal in both of our careers, I think. And it's made doing this so much more fun. And, not just the writing, but podcasting too. I think that's right. Very good. Well, thank you for being here. This has been great. I'm going to go grab your book, because I certainly need help in that area also. But will you tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your podcast and your books and all that good stuff?
Yeah. Sure. You can find out everything about me and my books at hblyne.com. Line is spelled with a Y. And the podcast is at unstoppableauthors.com. And the social media that I'm most active on is Instagram, and my handle is at hblyne.
Very good. Very good.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was great to talk to you again. And we'll have all the links at wishidknowthempodcast.com. And thanks to everybody for listening today, and to Alexa Larberg for editing and producing the podcast. And we'll see y'all next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. We hope this episode inspired you, empowered you, and made you laugh a little bit too. If you loved it, tell your friends about it. And if you feel so inclined, leave us a review. We look forward to being with you again next week.